The house is silent. The only sound is the low, rhythmic hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of a clock that seems to move slower than it should. You are sitting at the kitchen table, the overhead light casting long, sharp shadows across the wood grain. Your phone lies face up on the surface. It is just a piece of glass and circuitry, yet it feels heavy, like a stone pulling at your chest. You stare at the screen, waiting for a notification. This is the moment the leash tightens. You want to walk away, to turn off the lamp and go to bed, but your muscles refuse to move. You are trapped in a loop of second-guessing, replaying a conversation from earlier that day, searching for the exact point where you supposedly failed. You think you are processing your own mistakes, but you are not. You are reacting to a script written by someone else. That sinking feeling in your gut, that sharp spike of anxiety when you consider saying, no, it is not an accident. It is a mechanism. You are not just sitting in a quiet room. You are standing on a battlefield where the weapons are invisible and the target is your own sense of self. Consider what guilt is supposed to be. In its natural state, it is a quiet, internal alarm. It triggers when you violate your own values, prompting you to repair a bond or correct a mistake. But look at the mechanism in your life right now. That is not your conscience talking. That is a remote control. When a manipulator takes hold of your guilt, they bypass your values entirely. They press a button, and you flinch. They press another, and you apologize for needs you have every right to hold. This is the core of the override. Your boundaries are not being respected because they are being treated as obstacles. You are handing them the remote. You are effectively muting your own voice. This is not a relationship. It is a calibration. You stop asking what you need and start asking what will keep the peace. Your autonomy vanishes. Now, let us examine the primary weapon in their arsenal, the guilt trip statement. It is a surgical strike disguised as an expression of pain. When you hear someone say, "After everything I have done for you," or "I guess I am just not important to you," do not mistake these for honest emotional disclosures. They are not expressions of vulnerability. They are acts of calculated coercion. The manipulator presents their disappointment as a direct consequence of your actions. Even when those actions were perfectly reasonable, they craft a narrative where you are the villain and they are the martyr. You feel the weight of their words immediately. Your brain shifts into overdrive, searching for a way to restore the balance. You start apologizing for things you never did. You offer concessions you never intended to make. You are scrambling to fix a problem that does not exist, all to alleviate the discomfort they intentionally placed on your shoulders. This is the trap. By framing their own emotional state as your responsibility, they force you into a position of servitude. You are no longer acting on your own behalf. You are performing a repair job on a situation they engineered. Every time you accept the blame for their manufactured hurt, you provide the fuel for the next round of coercion. If the guilt trip fails to break your resolve, the manipulator pivots to a more corrosive tactic, the comparison trap. You hear it in the casual, cutting remarks that seem to hang in the air. "Why cannot you be more like your sister?" Or "Everyone else manages to make time for me." These are not observations. They are precision-engineered attacks on your self-worth. By holding up a distorted mirror of others, the manipulator creates a sense of inadequacy that only they can resolve. You stop looking at your own life and start looking at their expectations. You begin to measure your value by how well you perform. The goal is to make you feel like you are failing. This creates a desperate, frantic need to prove your loyalty. You work overtime, sacrifice your rest, and abandon your own priorities just to earn a nod of approval that never truly comes. Every ounce of energy you spend trying to be more is energy stolen from your own autonomy. You are being played. Some manipulators escalate the pressure through a tactic known as guilt through sacrifice. They maintain a meticulous, invisible ledger of every favor they have ever performed for you. These are not acts of kindness. They are investments. When they remind you, "I gave up so much for you," they are not sharing a memory. They are presenting a bill. This is the classic martyr performance. They highlight their own supposed suffering to make you feel permanently indebted. The goal is to convince you that your autonomy and your happiness are luxuries you have not earned. You are forced to view every decision through the lens of what you owe them. If you want to say no, you are met with the weight of their past sacrifices. The implication is clear. Your freedom is a betrayal of their generosity. You find yourself trapped in a cycle where you must pay for your own life with constant compliance and performative gratitude. They do not want your appreciation. They want your surrender. By framing their choices as burdens they carried for your sake, they effectively strip you of your right to choose your own path. You are no longer an equal in the relationship. You are a debtor, and the interest on your debt is your own agency. They keep the ledger open, adding entries every time you assert a boundary, ensuring that you never feel quite free enough to walk away. Sometimes, the manipulation stops being verbal entirely. The silent treatment is one of the most effective tools for inducing guilt. When you assert a boundary, the manipulator does not argue. They go cold. They withdraw. The house becomes a tomb of heavy, suffocating silence. You walk through rooms where the air feels thin, watching them move with deliberate, icy distance. Your brain immediately interprets this absence of warmth as a punishment. The spiral begins. You replay your last words, searching for a flaw. Was I too harsh? Did I ask for too much? The anxiety builds in your chest, a tight, physical knot that refuses to loosen. You check your phone, waiting for a ping that never comes. You find yourself pacing, rehearsing apologies for things you never did wrong. The silence is not about processing emotions. It is a calculated withdrawal of affection designed to force your hand. Every minute of their quiet is a minute of your torment. You are ready to fold, ready to apologize, ready to give them exactly what they want just to hear them speak again. The silence has done its work. You are broken. Perhaps most dangerous of all is the systematic rewriting of your reality. When you finally stand your ground, the manipulator does not acknowledge your need. Instead, they reframe your action. You did not set a healthy boundary. You launched an attack. You did not express a personal requirement. You were being selfish. This is gaslighting through guilt. They take your reasonable behavior and cast it as a moral failing. You find yourself trapped in a defensive loop. Every time you speak, you are forced to justify your existence. You start to doubt your own memory of events. Did I really sound that harsh? Was I truly being unreasonable? The manipulator feeds on this self-doubt. They keep you in a permanent state of apology, constantly explaining your motives to someone who has no intention of understanding them. You begin to shrink. You prune away your own needs, one by one, to avoid triggering their next reaction. Then, the pattern breaks. You are standing in the middle of an apology you do not mean, and a single question cuts through the fog. Did I actually do something wrong? You stop. You look at the situation, not through their eyes, but through your own. You measure the action against your own values, not their agenda. The weight in your chest shifts. You realize the guilt you have been carrying was never yours to hold. It was a borrowed burden, handed to you to keep you compliant. The manipulator watches, waiting for the usual submission, but the signal is dead. You see the mechanism now. You see the ledger of favors, the silent treatments, and the accusations for what they are. Tools of control. The power dynamic flips in an instant. The manipulator senses the change. They push harder, reaching for the old levers, but the levers no longer move. You are no longer scrambling to fix a problem you did not create. You are simply standing still. The air in the room clears. The confusion that once kept you trapped evaporates. You identify the guilt as a manufactured product, a hollow weapon that loses its edge the moment you name it. You are no longer a participant in their game. You are an observer, and for the first time, you are entirely free from the leash. If this realization made something click for you, your mind just got a little harder to manipulate. That is what we are here for. You have stepped out of the fog, and the landscape of your life looks different now. You see the levers, you see the strings. You have the power to cut them. Protecting yourself is not a single event, it is a daily practice of observation. When the next guilt trip arrives, do not argue, do not justify, do not explain. Simply observe the attempt for what it is. Acknowledge the tactic, identify the agenda, and let the manufactured emotion pass through you without taking root. Your boundaries are not a negotiation. They are the perimeter of your integrity. You do not need permission to hold them, and you do not need to apologize for their existence. When you stop reacting to the manipulation, the game ends. The manipulator loses their audience, and you regain your autonomy. Stay sharp, stay aware. Keep your focus on your own values, not the expectations of those who seek to control you. You are the final authority on your own life. The leash is gone. Walk your own path. See you in the next one.